Hey, Lakers fans. Imagine waking up and finding out that the throw-in guy from last year's trade talk might actually be the key to the next big bombshell. LA right now, the box scores don't tell the whole story. On paper, 8-4 looks calm, looks solid, looks like business as usual for a team led by Luka Doncic, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis. But that 121-92 humiliation against the Thunder, with OKC missing half a rotation, felt like an alarm going off at 3 in the morning. It wasn't just a bad night. It looked like a message to the front office. If you really want to fight for a title this year, something on this roster has to give. And the crazy part is that the piece everyone is quietly circling is the one a lot of us fell in love with when he first pulled on the purple and gold. Before we get into that, welcome back to Lakers News Fan Report, your channel for updated news and real rumors about our beloved Los Angeles Lakers, from someone who suffers every run, every defensive breakdown, every blown lead just like you. Today I'm going to walk you through what is really behind this wave of Dalton Knecht, why his name is suddenly popping up in trade ideas again, what kind of player the Lakers could bring back if he's moved, and why this all fits into a much bigger conversation about how to maximize the last years of LeBron and the absolute prime of Luka. So stay with me, because the storyline here is a lot deeper than just bench guy maybe getting traded. Let's start with the moment that pushed everything to the surface, that loss in Oklahoma City, 121-92. The Thunder without 6 rotation players, 70 points allowed in the first half, 40 in one quarter, and an offense that never even threatened to punch back. Luka and Austin Reeves together couldn't even crack mid-30s. And for a team that talks about championships every time a mic is shoved in front of them, that kind of performance makes the whole league raise an eyebrow. J.J. Redick talked about course correction after the game. But when you give up that kind of beating, it doesn't feel like a tiny adjustment. It feels like the kind of night that makes the front office grab a whiteboard and start drawing arrows all over the depth chart. And if you look at this roster with a cold, honest eye, you see the same thing everyone else sees. The Lakers need more two-way presence on the wing. They've flirted with the idea of bringing in a bigger name like Andrew Wiggins. They've been linked almost automatically to any 3-and-D guy that hits a trade rumor sheet. And you don't even need sources to understand why. The identity of this team is built around superstars who want the ball in their hands. Luka is a heliocentric offense by himself. LeBron still controls tempo when it matters. And Reeves is at his best as a secondary creator. What that trio needs around them is simple. Shooting that defenses respect and defenders who can survive on an island against elite guards and wings. That's where a name like Keon Ellis starts to appear in the conversation. Ellis isn't flashy, but his profile is exactly the kind of piece contenders go hunting for in February. In Sacramento, he grew into a classic modern 3-and-D guard. Long, active, tough at the point of attack, and efficient enough from deep that you can't ignore him in the corner. Last season, he earned starter-level minutes and proved he could guard up a position when needed. This year, his role has dipped a bit, but the numbers still jump off the page, around 7 points a night, over a steal per game, under 20 minutes on the floor, and ridiculous efficiency from the field and from 3, well into the mid-40% range. On a team like the Lakers, where every defensive possession in May and June is going to be a war, a guy like that can swing a playoff series without anyone outside LA even realizing it. Now, why would Sacramento even consider letting that go? That's where the context matters. The Kings have stumbled out of the gate at 3-9. They're on a losing streak. And for the first time since they broke the playoff drought, there's a real feeling that the current core might have hit a ceiling. When a team reaches that point, front offices start to think less about how do we keep this group together, and more about who can we flip now before their value drops. A guard like Ellis, still relatively young on a manageable contract with a defined skill set, becomes a very interesting chip if they decide to retool or even rebuild. And this is where we finally get to the uncomfortable part for Lakers fans, because the proposed path to Ellis, at least in one widely discussed trade idea, runs straight through Dalton Knecht and a future second-round pick. For Kings fans, that has some logic. Knecht is still just 24. He has good size on the wing and real three-point touch, and he showed last season that when he gets into a rhythm, he can fill up a box score in a hurry. We're talking about the same guy who had explosive nights as a rookie. including games in the 30-plus range and a stretch where he was one of the most accurate three-point shooters in the league. On a rebuilding team, without the pressure of sharing the floor with Hall of Famers and without the microscope of Staples Center lights, he could be given a long leash to figure himself out. That's exactly the type of bet small market or mid-tier teams like Sacramento like to make. Upside plus time. But if you've been following Knecht's journey closely, you also know why a lot of front offices see him differently right now. The second half of last season wasn't pretty. After that red-hot start, his shooting cooled off. The defense got targeted more and more. His minutes shrank. The Mark Williams trade saga, where he was almost shipped to Charlotte before the deal collapsed, sent a message. The Lakers were ready to move on if the right opportunity appeared. Reports out there have even used the phrase negative asset when scouts talk about him in trade scenarios, which is brutal to hear about a young player the fan base was hyped about just a year ago. Los Angeles still picked up his team option for 2026 to 27, which keeps him on the books for around $4.2 million, but that also makes him a clean, movable contract on a win-now timeline. At the same time, there have been glimpses lately that remind you why he was such a big story as a rookie. Just a couple of weeks ago, with half the roster banged up, Knecht came off the bench and basically carried the second unit, dropping double-digit points, piling up almost all the bench scoring by himself, and showing flashes of that fearless shooter who once hung 37 on an NBA defense. Nights like that are exactly why J.J. Redick keeps talking publicly about believing in his potential. They're also exactly why this whole conversation hurts. You're not talking about dumping a lost cause. You're talking about cashing in a still intriguing talent to fix other problems on the roster. So, what does the trade idea actually look like? In the version that's been circulating, the Lakers would send Dalton Knecht plus a 2032 second-round pick to Sacramento. In return, they get Keon Ellis, sliding him directly into that rotation spot as a lower-usage, higher-impact two-way guard. For Los Angeles, the logic is simple and a little cold. You accept that you're probably not getting draft capital back for Knecht anyway, because his value across the league has dipped. You package him with one of your few remaining future seconds, and instead of letting him sit at the end of your bench while his stock maybe drops even more, you turn him into a plug-and-play defender you can trust now in big games. From the Lakers' standpoint, that's the front office admitting that the priority has to be the present. Luka's prime is happening in real time. LeBron is still defying age, but no one knows how many elite seasons are left. AD's health always feels like an hourglass you can see, grain by grain. You can't afford to give up playoff series because your perimeter defense can't stay in front of guards, or because you don't have enough two-way wings you trust. A player like Ellis comes in, guards the ball, hits open threes created by Luka's gravity, and lets Reeves and LeBron conserve energy for when possessions really matter. That's how contenders are built in this era. Stars plus role players who do one or two things at an elite level. On the Kings side, you can see the temptation too. If they're really leaning into a retool, they get a scorer who, in the right environment, could pop and become a long-term rotation piece, plus another pick to play with in future deals. Knecht's efficiency numbers in limited minutes this year, close to 8 points a game on strong field goal percentages, hint that the talent is still there. He just needs more touches and more patience than a contender like the Lakers can realistically give him. In Sacramento, with fewer expectations and more minutes available, he could rediscover the attacking confidence that made him such a problem coming out of Tennessee and early in his NBA career. Now, here's the big question I want to throw at you, and I really want to see your thoughts down in the comments. If this exact proposal were on the table, would you pull the trigger as a Lakers fan? Would you move on from Dalton Knecht, knowing exactly how exciting he can be when the shots fall, in exchange for a guy like Keon Ellis who doesn't have the same offensive fireworks but brings that tough, dependable 3-and-D presence we were missing so badly in Oklahoma City? Or would you rather hold him, bet that his late-season surge and those recent flashes are the real version of Dalton, and risk watching him either explode somewhere else or sink so low that he becomes truly untradeable? Because here's the truth. Right now, nothing is official. This is a trade concept, not a war bomb. But ideas like this don't appear out of thin air. They sit on top of a pile of worrying signs, the blowout losses, the anonymous scout calling Knecht a negative asset, the DMPs when he's squeezed out of the rotation. The front office quietly picking up his option to preserve flexibility, the constant chatter that the Lakers are hunting for another wing. When you connect all those dots, it becomes very easy to picture a world where Dalton's path in LA ends, not with him raining threes in the conference finals, but with him boarding a flight to another city as the main salary piece in a depth-fixing trade. At the same time, there's an optimistic way to look at all of this, and that's the angle I always come back to as a fan. If the Lakers end up moving Knecht, it won't be to tear things down. It will be to sharpen a contender. It means the front office is refusing to waste the window they have with this core. And it means every game like that ugly night in Oklahoma City is being treated seriously, not brushed under the rug with cliches. And if they decide to keep him, it will be because internally they see something in practice, in the film, in his work, that tells them he can still be that quiet X factor off the bench. A guy who comes in and swings a game with a 5-minute heater. Either way, the message is the same. This season is not about vibes. It's about banners. So my final concise read on this whole situation is this. The Dalton Knecht rumors are a loud reminder that the Lakers are in all-in mode. A creative trade like the one involving Keon Ellis would hurt emotionally, especially for fans who rode every high of Dalton's rookie year. But it fits the reality of building around Luka, LeBron, and AD right now. The front office has to be ruthless, even with players we like, if the goal is to be playing in June instead of explaining another second-round exit. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you see Knecht's exit as a necessary sacrifice to balance this roster? Or do you believe the smarter move is to hold him and hope he turns into the kind of sharpshooter we saw at his best? Drop your opinion below. Tell me what trade you do, who you target, or if you keep the kid and ride it out. If you enjoyed this breakdown and you want every update, every rumor, every twist in this Lakers season delivered with analysis and with the heart of a real fan, make sure you're subscribed to Lakers News Fan Report. Turn on the notifications, leave your like, and share this with that friend who is already proposing 10 different fake trades in the group chat. We're going to follow every step of this story together. Whether Dalton Knecht stays to redeem himself in purple and gold or becomes the piece that unlocks the next evolution of this team.